To House of Representatives Jamie Raskin from John Weaver, Roseman, California. Uh, Time index right now is 9:30 in the morning, West Coast time. It is December 31st, 2023. 30-year anniversaries, and they get harder every year. Upon the interview that you had with Dana Bash on CNN, I was shocked to discover, and my heart grieves for you and your family regarding your lost son. 25-year-old, hard time to go through life, especially when you're still trying to be everything that you can be. And then dealing with that monster. One of those things that people keep misunderstanding half the time regarding depression. Sometimes the person going through it doesn't understand fully why. It might have been social pressure, it might have been pressure at campus or other things to drive a person to do. I know about having lifelong mental health. And I understand about depression as I get older and look back at my life. I've had it myself. But unfortunately, nobody ever diagnosed me, and I almost came close to it myself. And these days, I had to keep looking back at my family's history and how we looked at it all. And there would have been a lot of times either my mother or my brother would have been passing away because of it. I know my mother did a long route of it. She couldn't endure it and couldn't bear it no more, and passed away at 75. They call it respiratory distress, but the more I keep looking back at the past, my mother had it for a long while. So she decided to do the long pathway, not the short walk. My brother, firstborn, 8 years older than I was, he couldn't deal with Ma's death either. Ma passed away in February of 2013, Dave in September of 2018. Not one of them knew how to deal with the grieving, mourning, or anything else. They all tended to hide from it. Convinced that the grief had eaten them alive. Being firstborn was hard enough for my brother, and he had to endure Ma's death, and he tried to hide from it. I mean, he had been clean and sober up until the time he died. Yes, there was also respiratory failure. I don't know what it was, but between home and the hospital, that's where he passed, and hard enough to go into the emergency room. Depression is one of those things that sometimes you don't know if the person's depressed or not. We've had other people that we've recognized in the celebrity realm that smiled a great deal, and yet there's a song out there, I think in the late 50s or early 60s, Tears of a Clown. But there's other songs in there saying that cloud's smiling and they're dying on the inside. I heard those songs growing up as a kid. I did understand back then. There was no context, perspective, or anything. But these days, after lost people, including the suicide, I understand and agree with you more. Each year it becomes a little bit more difficult, but I still struggle on. I'm going to community college as a 57-year-old fort. Going through it about several years already. Before, during, and after my brother's death, I knew that Ma still wanted me to continue on. I screwed it up when I got out of high school. I had to work full time. I had to make amends to her on that one. Even to the point of becoming a caregiver to her last several years of her life, working alongside with my brother. He was the primary. It was hard enough after Ma's passing that Dave and I had to still face an uncertain future. We had attended support meetings. And sometimes we would hear the people's stories and pain and different actions they would try to get past it or even suicidal at best. Dealing with the loss of family, regardless of their status, it's still family, Congressman. Family is the most important thing in my life. Or still is. I don't have anybody. I've got neighbors. But I know what it's like to deal with grieving and mourning alone. And not talking to people about it on a constant basis. I figured that other people would shun you like crazy. Even if they happen to know that, excuse me, that you're dealing with the grief and you're dealing with the pain. It's just treated as a leper and a pariah at the same time. But for those who've actually lost, we know the pain. We know the feeling. And we know the roller coasters and the repercussions. So I agree with you and your family. I can't say how sorry I am. Only I feel you in my heart. We always hoped that a year after that would be a lot better. I found out sometimes it becomes more of a challenge. Until it's time when we have to choose. Or the choice is made for us. I know what it's like to go through the process. But I also know some of the choices I kept facing as a youth and as an adult. I'm still here. I'm still alive. I still struggle for day to day. Some days are good and other days not so good. I get triggered and then I go nuts. The emotional roller coaster, or whatever kind of metaphors that you happen to use. The shock and awe would be the landmines, and the constant waves of the emotions kicking you and flooding you and drowning you, that would be the tsunamis. And then if you're really going through the stages of it, up and down, constantly feeling like you're out of control inside, that's the roller coaster for you. I didn't need to have a PhD on that one. I didn't need to have a letter of academia on that one. It's my experience, my own experience. You see the cabinet on my left shoulder. You see the picture on my chest. Big brother David. Her nickname was Mary Ann. A lot of stories on my YouTube channel, The Diary of the Griever named John Weaver, that I talk about my own experiences. Grieving, life, death, surviving, politics, or anything else. But when I start getting into the triggers, when I start hearing about people going through the motions of grieving, and they go through sometimes the misunderstandings, misconceptions. I take it the other people had been going through it hard enough. See, I know what it is to cover up the emotions for a long time. Wear the emotional moleskin on you until your own support, people that you depend upon, are ripped away from you forever in this life. The shock and awe of it, the numbness, the automatic functioning, the survival mode that you have to keep moving and pushing on, and you have to keep living. Some days you are good, and other days you aren't. But the thing of it, Congressman, is when you have the backup, when you have the support, it makes it easier to deal with. But I'm saying from personal experience, when you don't have that support, Congressman, sometimes it can be overwhelming. And you really have to dig deep into something else that hopefully that if you had been sticking with for a long while, it'll keep you going through it. I'm not talking about drugs or alcohol or anything else like that. No, because they never touch it. They never touch the pain. They never do anyway. Just only adds to the misery. No, if you're a man of faith, that's the only thing you could try drawing upon, just to keep drawing breath some days. Unless you're absolutely determined not to have the feelings overwhelm you to a point where life doesn't mean a damn thing anymore. Somehow that's how I felt when I looked at the article doing research on the internet about Tom. A young man who has been promising, but even with the eyes that they posted, it seemed like he was haunted. Oh, they could try showing the enthusiasm, and that's how people would want to remember the kid. Now, if you got through it, you'd see the haunting behind the eyeballs. I'm not an expert. I've just seen too much of it. We all hide our pain one way or another. And the more we keep smiling and trying to laugh about it, I have to keep seeing the more and more pain leaking out. Kind of remind me of Robin Williams. And he's more famous when it comes down for dealing with that. He was dealing with his own pain. And no matter how many times he kept trying to make people laugh and make them comfortable enough, he really didn't want to show his innards to anybody else. Because he wanted to make them feel comfortable and human. We call that a noble sacrifice, but still. We look at grieving, we look at dealing with our own mournful attitudes as being weak. I consider it being human, Congressman. I consider myself human. At least I hope I still am. I hadn't been triggered in a long while before Ma passed. I kept trying to focus on my life and everything else. Despite the fact I've lost friends, family members, pets, what are still family members. And they hurt, but I tried not to show it. Maybe when I was a lot younger, I would have been different, but as an adult, I was always told you had to pack it in, you had to be tough. Big boys don't cry. Congressman, this big boy cries. I'll have words with anybody else who says otherwise. My brother didn't want to show it because he wanted to show strength to me. Not being human. I already seen him go through things in life that made him like somehow you probably want to throw him in a garbage can and bury him alive. That there was a human being in there somewhere, because I know before those things happened to him. I was his baby brother and I still had to watch his six. And I took care of him. I wasn't the only one, but his baby brother's got to watch out for his big brother. Just like big brother tried to watch out for his baby brother growing up. There have been days I wish I could have repeated those times with my brother. Even after Ma's passing. He was still shaky when it came down for losing his mother. He had to talk to other people, not to me, about how he was dealing with it. Because he was afraid, I guess, of not being strong enough for me. And then I had to learn how to be stronger. Because my brother was showing bad choices and bad decisions made. But in the end, losing family and losing those I care and love about over the past 10 years. Yeah, it does something of a psychic change to a personality and to everything else and everybody else. And depression has a way of changing a person around. I think I throw people off every time I keep talking about it because it has to be talked about. Because the one thing, Congressman, I'm afraid of is doing the volunteer. I'm not ready to go there just yet. I've been there, done it. Not to suicide, but almost damn near came close to it. But being dead? Yeah. Open heart surgery, age 4 years old, 3 times up, 3 times back. Not fun. Changes a person completely. Different viewpoints. What people expected as normal, I wasn't. They should have been talking to me a long time ago, but nobody ever did. But still, I'm here now. And I'm going to college and I'm finishing up. Even though it's a community college, what the hell? Because I'm doing it for Mom, doing it for David, I'm doing it mostly for me. Besides, I owe it to the both of them anyway. I just wanted to get this off my chest, but I also wanted to convey my feelings, my thoughts, my condolences, and sympathies. Wanted to tell you that I feel you, Congressman. Anniversaries suck. Prayers and blessings to you and your family. Take care, Congressman.